All right, here's the latest news break coming in right on the top of To The Point. The three-judge bench of the Karnataka High Court, headed by the Chief Justice, will now pronounce the interim order in the hijab case at 10:30 a.m. tomorrow. That's the latest news that we are getting in. The three-judge bench had withheld the order, was hearing the petition for a very long time right now. I'm going to cut across to my colleague Nabila in just about a minute, and she's going to elucidate for our viewers on how long the hearing has been. We saw what happened in the entire case, which pretty much caught the nation's imagination. And finally, there is now clear word coming in that the three-judge bench of the Karnataka High Court, headed by the Chief Justice of India, will pronounce an interim order in the hijab case at 10:30 a.m. tomorrow. I want to cut across to my colleague Nabila, who's joining us with the very latest. Nabila, the verdict, the interim order, was held for quite a long time right now. Take us through the trajectory of the case and what can we expect tomorrow at 10:30 a.m.
It's been over 2 weeks since the hijab verdict was reserved by a three-judge bench, and finally now the verdict is going to be out tomorrow 10:30 a.m. This is what has been said. This is the word out by court as well. In fact, this is going to be a really keenly watched verdict, as you have students across the state of Karnataka, many of them wearing the hijab, who protested against this ban that the government of Karnataka had imposed in those colleges particularly that had CDC guidelines that spoke of uniformity. You had several students coming in from the Udupi and the Kundapura belt colleges who were stopped from wearing their hijab inside classrooms. Few of those colleges that always maintained uniformity, never allowed for hijab. Those colleges too, you had students asking for them to be allowed and be pardoned, exempted. Those colleges, in fact, insisted on following uniformity, and that's when the situation escalated with the government of Karnataka stepping in and bringing out a fresh order on the 5th of February, saying that CDC guidelines will prevail, uniformity will prevail, and that means no kind of religious symbols inside classrooms will be allowed. This matter was taken to court, and from a single judge bench, expertise was brought in, a three-judge bench was formed, and then the matter was heard over 2 weeks. And finally, on the 10th of February, the court delivered an interim order saying that all those colleges and schools that have set CDC guidelines that speaks of uniformity, no hijab or even for that matter a saffron scarf or shawl will be allowed in the interim period till the verdict is out. So this verdict is very important to see what the court has to say about CDC guidelines wanting to maintain uniformity, which exempts any kind of religious symbol allowed inside classrooms, including the hijab, saffron shawl, a scarf, or any religious flag for that matter as well. We saw large-scale protests that was carried out, a lot of violence in many districts of Shimoga, Udupi, Kundapura, Mangaluru as well. And this verdict indeed is going to now give some kind of understanding on what will be the new set of rules colleges will follow in this period.
You know, before I let you go, Nabila, I want to quickly, just break it down for us. Tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. in the interim order, will we know whether the hijab will be allowed in those classrooms which were now following uniformity?
Right, so far those colleges that were not allowing for hijab will be allowed to continue at least till the verdict is out. Once the verdict is out, we'll of course got to see what the verdict will be, and then things might change. But so long, those colleges that allowed for hijab also were apprehensive and held back, saying that the court's verdict is yet to come out, so we're not going to allow for hijab in the moment. Many of those colleges that never allowed still stayed adamant on their stance. Now this court verdict will be interesting to watch to see what the court really has to say. It appears that already there were attempts made to file PILs and appeals to the Supreme Court as well. The Supreme Court also very clearly said they will not intervene until the Karnataka High Court's verdict is out, and they will wait and watch until this matter is dealt with at the state level itself. So this verdict will only mean, and whatever the verdict is, that then the matter might just be raised, if at all it's not in favor of those students wearing the hijab, wanting to enter classrooms that denied it earlier. They might appeal to the Supreme Court. That's more or less what we see might happen, again depending on the verdict on what's going to be said tomorrow.
Appreciate you joining us, Nabila. We're going to come back to you for more details. 10:30 a.m. is the interim order, was reserved for over a fortnight. Keen eye on all developments there. Trust India Today to get you the very latest coming out of the courts tomorrow morning at 10:30 a.m.